I have selected the perfect books to get started with classic literature. These are also perfect for non-native English speakers because they're accessible, they're easy to read, but at the same time, you will also get something profound out of them. I will be dividing it into sections, so feel free to hop to the section that interests you most. So let's start with children's classics that I think are worth reading as an adult. The first novel I have selected is The Secret Garden by Frances Burnett. A lonely girl discovers a hidden, neglected garden that transforms her life and the lives of those around her. The second book I want to recommend is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. A hobbit named Bilbo Baggins embarks on an epic quest to help dwarves reclaim their homeland, discovering courage and adventure along the way. The next one is The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. In this cute story, a princess and a minor boy join forces to fight against goblins. Now let's go to the big books that I would recommend. First of all, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Do not go for the abridged version because the full version is absolutely magnificent. This is about a wrongfully imprisoned man who seeks vengeance against those who betrayed him, transforming himself into the mysterious Count of Monte Cristo. The second big book on my list is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. This is a tragic tale of a married aristocrat's affair that brings passion and ultimately ruin, set against the backdrop of Russian society. Next, I would like to recommend Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is about an orphan governess who falls in love with her employer, only to discover that he harbors a dark secret. Another very, very big novel that I would like to recommend is Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. This is about a nobleman who thinks himself a knight-errant and he embarks on a comical adventure. The next one I have for you is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. This is such an underrated classic. I highly recommend this. This is about a mysterious woman who escapes her abusive marriage and seeks refuge in an isolated mansion, and she challenges the societal norms of her time. Let's put a new stack here. So now we're going to the middle-length novels that I would recommend. The first one is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Personally, this wasn't really my cup of tea, but I do recommend it because it's many people's favorite novel. I will link my review if you're interested in getting to know my opinion on this novel. This is about a young bride who is haunted by the legacy of her husband's first wife, Rebecca, in their grand estate named Manderley. The next one is not going to be for everyone. It's a little bit more tricky to recommend, but that is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. This is about a middle-aged man who becomes obsessed with a 12-year-old girl, and this leads to a controversial and tragic relationship. I also have a review, so if you want to get to know a bit more about the novel before diving in, I recommend you check that out first. The next novel that I recommend is one that absolutely blew me away when I first read it. It is Thérèse Raquin by Émile Zola. It's a very short one, and this is about a young woman who is trapped in a loveless marriage, and she engages in a passionate affair that comes with devastating consequences. The next one is also a little bit more difficult to recommend. It is Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. If you love beautiful prose and can handle a slower story, then you should definitely pick this up. This is about a doctor's wife, Emma Bovary, and she seeks to escape her mundane life through extravagant spending and adulterous affairs, leading to her downfall. This is actually the French version of Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. So if you love Anna Karenina, chances are high that you will enjoy Madame Bovary. The next one was also a novel that wasn't really my cup of tea, but I do recommend it because so many people love it and it is very accessible. It has profound messages, which is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Here we follow a young girl in the racially charged South, and she witnesses her father defend a black man who got wrongfully accused of a crime. The next recommendation is Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. This book is about a mysterious masked man living beneath the Paris Opera House, and he becomes obsessed with a beautiful young singer named Christine. Next, I would recommend reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is a series of personal writings by the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, and it is filled with Stoic wisdom that is still applicable today. Now, as I was going through my collection of Jane Austen novels, I selected Northanger Abbey for you guys because this was one of the most accessible Austen novels that I have read. This is about a young woman with a passion for Gothic novels, and she discovers the difference between fiction and reality while visiting a friend's mysterious estate. And the final one of the middle-length books is, of course, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This book gets recommended by almost everyone, and it is so deserved. The story follows a young man who remains youthful and handsome while his portrait ages and reflects the moral corruption of his soul. Now, if you're interested in some shorter fiction, here are some authors that you should read. First of all, let's go back to Oscar Wilde. I have read all of his theater plays, all of his short stories, and each and every single one of them is worth a read. They're so accessible, they have profound messages, they're amazing. Secondly, every short story written by Leo Tolstoy, everyone that I've read was amazing and I highly recommend them. Next is another Russian author, it's Alexander Pushkin. His short stories are so good and I think you will love them, so add them to your list. And then finally, I wanted to recommend a Dickens novel because he was one of the most popular authors of the Victorian era in England. So A Christmas Carol is a very quick read and it helps you get familiar with Dickens, his writing style. It wasn't my cup of tea. I am not a Dickens kind of girl, but I think you should give A Christmas Carol a try. This is such a beloved story. Let me know your recommendations for beginners, and also if you're a beginner and you're watching this video, let me know which of these novels piqued your interest. I also have a video on how to read classic literature, so if you're new to it, I think that video will be extremely helpful. Thank you so much for watching.